Hello guys, welcome back. The next step is how do we actually texture that this terrain outside of Unity. If you look at the terrain here, actually here, and look at the splat map, let's do it this way. You can see that the alpha, the UV of this terrain is actually just a square image, or a square. So anything that has this kind of UV, if you pen them this way, you can get you can transfer that color information onto this terrain. So what I'm gonna do is, of course, I cannot export this guy, so I need some model to work on. Fortunately, I still have the ZBrush here. Okay, I'm gonna actually create a model from this guy by go to the tool and then geometry, sub tool, and then duplicate this guy, and then zero measure it to get a lower resolution version of this high detailed terrain. And the reason for that is not only I cannot paint this high resolution model very easily in Spinner, but also you have to have big normal map for the smart mask to work properly. So I have now two models, the lower resolution model and the high resolution model. Let's go export those two. I'm gonna call this one terrain low, and then the high resolution one. It also has UVs, but the UV is useless. I'm gonna go delete the UV just to make the exporting faster. Let's call this high resolution one. Am I doing the high resolution one? I think so. Okay, so this is gonna be the terrain high. Okay, now let's go to Maya. Let me delete this plane and then go import my two models, the terrain high and terrain low. You look at those two. First thing is that they're tilted. That's how what machine gives you. What machine gives you. So rotate that 90 degrees. Okay. And also, if you go really close, you see now they're hot edged. Okay. So that's not cool either. I'm gonna grab both and then soften edge to give them softer edge, or you can go for modeling mesh display. Soften edge, that's where the command is. Alright, and then you want to go grab the low resolution mesh and give it a UV. The UV will be just a top down projection on the y direction, and that's going to give you the same UV as the terrain has in Unity. Okay, now everything's done here in Maya. Just go grab those and delete history before you export, and then just export them back and override the original one you imported in. So just override that. And then the low one, it's still exporting. The low one will be override the low one, and yes. Now let's go to Substance Spinner, and then go File, New, and then select the low one as the model we're gonna paint, and then press OK. And then go back Textures, load the high resolution mesh here, and then bake it. So what that does is it's gonna go bake the bumpy detail back to the low resolution mesh so we can paint it. Alright, so now they're all in. I can start painting the masks for my different layer and then eventually export those for Unity. Let's delete that layer and start from the very beginning and create a fill layer. I'm gonna call this one the mud layer, and I don't need to give it any texture because I don't need to. They don't do anything eventually. So what I'm trying to figure out is just the color and the roughness. Okay, let me create a new layer for the grass, and this one all I need to do is still just the color. And then the roughness can be a little bit higher too. And then this one I need a black mask, and then maybe I can use a smart mask to help me find out the distribution of the grass. So maybe the ground dirt will do the job. Okay. It's too little, so I can go to the preset and then maybe crank up the level a little bit more, be a bit more contrast. Still doesn't feel really good. I'm gonna actually choose other ones. Let's try this one, the mouse form. It's gonna make the grass growing on the top, and I can actually flip it by selecting the smart mask and go for the invert. Okay, and then I can drag the level up to push the grass downwards a little bit. Okay, don't need that much grunge on it. Okay, maybe more contrast. Okay, so that's where my grass is. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is my rock. Again, just give it a color so you see that's the rock. My rock is kind of like this kind of color. And then I'm gonna give it a black mask again. This time I'm gonna use maybe the edge scratch. Okay, so that's where my rock is. Okay, it's gonna be on the very top of those edges. That's because that's most of the area where you get a lot of scratching, so very little grass will be there, and then you will have the rock, the hard shape that are actually the one on the remaining material on those hard edges. Okay, and then I can do tweaking too if I wanted to, like maybe give it some smaller variations, and then maybe that variation is smaller. Okay, and I can change like the level, how much I do want it. Those actually not very much. Okay, I don't want it to be too overwhelming. Okay. So you can do all sorts of changing, like for example, maybe I want it more on the top. I can right click and create a paint layer, and I can of course manually adding in some more on the top if that's what I want. Right? So I can just manually make the top to have more rock on it, just to polish it more. Okay, maybe even somewhere here. Because the smart mask, although it's awesome, it can give you the variations you need really quickly, but I would like to manually be able to control their distribution because nature is somehow random sometimes. So the computer generated way is accurate if no accident happens, but you know there are accidents. So I'm gonna manually have those things. Those, you know, unreasonable results painted manually. Okay, so let's say I'm happy with that. Let's moving on to the next layer. This layer is going to be the flower layer. The flower layer, my flower is more like a yellowish color, so I'm gonna choose that too. It's too cold. Okay, and then crank up the roughness and give it a black mask. And here I'm gonna also manually distribute where the flower is. It's kind of dark. Let me go change the color to make it brighter. Okay, the flower, maybe it's gonna be our some of the edges. Okay, or the most bottom part of it. But I think they're pretty random, so I'm gonna just manually, instead of relying on smart mask. So you just somewhere here. Okay. And by the way, if there is a flower, I think I can actually eliminate the grass underneath it. Oh, I need a paint layer for that too. Okay. Alright, just to give it more manual control, some human touch, to make it feels more natural. Okay. And then eventually it's my snow. So new fill layer, let me just call it snow, and then a black mask. Okay. And you can try to use the particle brush. Okay. And you can use the leak. Okay. I can just draw there. Oh, you know what? It's not doing that for some reason. Need to reactivate it. Need to have some snow falling down. Okay. Doesn't really do a very good job though. So I think I'm gonna actually just manually have some. This is for demonstration purposes. I think I don't even need snow there because it doesn't feel like a very high mountain to me. But just for demonstration purpose, I'm gonna do that. Brush, and then I'm gonna manually just draw that on the top of the highest mountain up there, maybe at top of this guy too. Alright, so let's say I'm happy with this now. So the question is, how can I convert this, the distribution of those different parts or layers, back to Unity? Okay. The process of doing that is we can manually create a map in Photoshop. So let's go to Photoshop and then go File, New. Okay, the format of that splat map will be a 2K. You can actually look at the format down here. It's 2K, RGBA, 32-bit. Okay, so any image that is that format should be good. I'm gonna go for 2K. Okay, it's that doesn't matter. Okay, the color model will be RGB color and then 32-bit. Everything's fine. Just go create. Okay. Now let's go to Subspinner and then also change our document size to 2K. That way we don't have to resize everything. Let's right click on the grass and then there's export mask to clipboard. Okay, that's gonna copy the mask into the clipboard. If you go back to Substance Unity and look at the grass, it's gonna be the green color. So I'm just gonna go back to Photoshop and then find out the green and then paste it there. Okay, that's gonna be my green mask. Okay. Now if you look at the Unity one again, you will see that when there's green, there's no red and no blue. That's not true here. If you look at the final result, they're purple. So I need to actually subtract anything that is that is in the green channel from the red. So let me just control click on the green and then go back to the red and then make sure you have the background as black and then control X to subtract that. Now if you look at those two channels, you see now they're all normalized. Okay, so when there is green, there is no red. Let's go for the next layer in Subspinner, which is the rock. Okay, export mask to clipboard again and back to Photoshop. That's gonna be the green, the blue one. Let me paste it there. And the same thing, if you have anything as blue, then those ones in the blue should be taken away from both green and then red channel. Okay, that way if you have three altogether, you see the distribution of those. And then eventually we have one more for the flower. And then that flower will be still on the same map. If you look at Unity, the flower is here on this image, and it's dark. That's because it's in the alpha. So let's go create a alpha channel for it and then paste it in. Again, when there is something inside of the flower, then it should be taken away from blue, green, and then the red channel. Okay. Now if you choose them all, you will see something weird, but that's okay. Alright. Now before we finish this, there is one more thing. If you look at the first image, you see now snow is also there. That's because when there is snow, and there should be anything else, right? So the snow also have to be taken away from even the first image. Even the actual snow's alpha is over here. Okay, so we need to go back to the substance painter again and then copy the snow. And go back to Photoshop. Let's create a new alpha and paste it here so I can easily select it and then just subtract it from all other channels too. Okay, and then I don't need this anymore. And that way it's actually the correct splat map. Let me save it as an XR to textures, mountain textures. Let's call it splat 1. Okay. Now I need a new one. Okay. Oh, you know what? The new one's format is not correct. For the snow, it's gonna be 2K. So this one. And then I need to go to the channels. RGB will be all black to start with, and you need the alpha too. But for the red, it's gonna be having the alpha of the snow. So let's copy the mask to clipboard and go back to Photoshop and paste it here. The reason I know it there is because this is what it appears here in the second splat map. So let me save this one as splat 2. Alright, then to actually have those two images, to replace what's happening here, you need a little script. Let me drag those two in first. That little script will be on the forum. You can go download it there. It's underneath Advanced Set and Level Design section 01, and then New Terrain Solution Asset, and go download this one, the JavaScript. Okay, right click and then go download here. Okay, keep that, and then you want to drag it into Unity, which is over here. When that is done, you will have a new menu called the terrain menu. Okay, for those two splat map to be converted or transferred into the actual splat map on the terrain, you have to first change those import settings. They are not sRGB. Let me select both. Not sRGB. Okay, they have to be red bow, and then you have to convert the format into a 32-bit and then apply. And then you can go to this new terrain menu and then replace splat map, and then drag splat alpha from the terrain as the splat map, and then the new one will be the one we created, and then replace. What that does is replacing the image from all the color information from one of the map to the other one. Okay. All right. So every little detail is transferred back here. See, the snow is black. It's because the second one is not being transferred. That one is purely white. That's because you have the snow there, but you also have some rock underneath it. If their value are not normalized, then you get super exposed colors. So let's do the second one. The same thing, just replace splat map and drag the actual splat map to the splat map, and our manually created ones into the new and then replace. And then you see now my snow is converted over there. Okay, so now every little information we created from Substance Painter are being transferred into Unity. Okay, so that way you don't have to manually paint those smaller details. Let me go to Asset and then import the character in, so we can look at it by playing it. Okay, let me go drag in the first person character. Okay, position it here, deleted that original main camera. Let's go play it. All right. Oh. Let's maximize on play and then go play it. Okay. Now you see I have this terrain and its texture are all generated from Substance Painter. Okay. I think it needs more fine tuning on it because I was rushing through all the steps. But you can see you can get fairly good results by using the Substance Painter way and convert a splat map outside of it. Okay. So that's the whole creation process of terrain using Substance and then Word Machine and ZBrush. We have a combination of tools to eventually achieve this result, and you can see that sometimes it's not how much you know about every individual tool, but how are you gonna combine those two together to get the final result you want. Okay. And those are called the workflow. Okay. I think my dog is getting really anxious about something. I need to go check. But yeah, that's the tutorial for the terrain. I'm sure you can do it better because I was kind of rushing through. I didn't pay too much attention on the texturing part in Substance Painter, so it could be better than this. All right. But the technique is there, and just use this and to create something on your own. Okay. In the next tutorial, I'm going to go for the Unreal Engine process. So if you're using Unreal Engine, I will have the workflow there.